they gave us a new map, you know, a
With all the legislators
map.
that came here.
Didn't really get that far in.
Hey, we could be Kentucky, right? So we're
That's
ahead of
right.
the game.
Could be. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Maybe prepare for something like that. Just move to the northeast.
200 miles underground, that's a good one. 225, that's
Snow you can move it.
Yeah, right.
Or Milton.
Sad,
my house was moving the other night,
Yeah.
too, so.
Oh, that was like a freight train coming through that.
It stayed on the ground.
It was over 200 from the,
Yeah. And the death toll was up over 100.
there's no count.
Yeah.
We got out of there bad.
I mean, if you look at the devastation.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, right.
What my nephew's doing now? Jeffrey? He got a new job.
What?
He's working for a company out of Windsor, just does robotics, plastic things. You know where he's working on? No. You're kidding. They fly him out every week.
Hey, George, how are you? How are you? Good. Yeah, we have some kids flying to Florida to see us.
It's a long plane ride.
Thanksgiving was good.
He was in Los Angeles.
No, Florida.
This week he's in San Francisco.
Yeah, I know, except that the rate is going.
He does lunch.
Only
Coming right back.
Yes, yes.
Better him than me, huh?
Where are you?
It's a nasty flight to come back through Chicago.
Yeah. Well, it's very different.
Plane to Vegas for 6 hours, I went out of my mind.
I got a projection. She's got food.
Well, my neighbor, they went to Long Beach, California.
No.
They went to bed
That's coming up.
thinking they were gonna have a
I didn't know.
6:40 a.m. flight.
Yeah.
Early, gotta get up early, get ready to get. I got up in the morning, turned the phones on.
They changed them.
Flight got canceled.
Yep.
And they now have a 5:40 a.m. flight.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I didn't
well,
do
it's,
that.
yeah, it's on,
I was reading that the other day. Somebody said if anybody's traveling, whatever you
yeah,
do,
it is on
watch
there,
your phone, watch your
if we get to it.
internet, because they're changing stuff within the
All
hour.
set, Pam?
They were coming back yesterday. Actually, they were coming back Sunday, Saturday. And they got, their plane was late. They went from there to Dallas. Missed the
Okay.
flight in Dallas.
We're gonna start the meeting.
Hotel, the Americans put them up in a hotel for the night. Wow. They didn't get back until.
Yep.
Okay, we'll call the December 13th, 2021 meeting to order here at Planning and Zoning. And roll call, we've got, I'm George Clausen, Craig Sandin to my left, John Cooney to my right, Peter Marchand, Willard Platt, Troy Lemire as an alternate, Charlene Lavoy alternate, and Felix Beiner alternates. We've got a full house, so we don't have to seat one of our alternates. The public comment, if there's anything that's not on the agenda, that there's someone here in the public would like to speak to, welcome you to do that. Okay, seeing no one interested in that, we've got the agenda review. Anything has to be changed or added? All right, any other business, Pam, that we've got that we haven't seen? Okay. So number 5 is a public hearing, PZC 21-11. Commission-initiated changes to zones. Location, various properties located at 201 East Lake Street, 203 East Lake Street, 208 East Lake Street, 216 East Lake Street, and 220 East Lake Street. Can you tell us the advertisements and so forth?
Sure. The notification of public hearing was Monday, December 13th, 2021, in the P. Francis Hicks Room located on the second floor of the Winchester Town Hall at 3:38 p.m. Wednesday for the following applications. PZC 2111, Commission initiated changes to zones, various properties located at 201 East Lake Street, 203 East Lake Street, 208 East Lake Street, 216 East Lake Street, 220 East Lake Street. At this hearing, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written communications will be received. Copies of the above application are on file for public inspection in the Planning and Community Development Office. Letters were sent to all of the town clerks that abut the town of Winchester. A copy of the zone change application was sent to the COG. Comments were received from them on November 18th, reflecting that the COG's staff has referred the referral and finds no regional concerns. Copies of the allowed uses for Highland Lake District and the Highland Lake Business District, as well as notice of the legal ad were sent to each of the, 5 or 6 properties. I received a couple calls just asking what was happening, and they were invited to attend and get more information.
Okay. Before we open the public hearing, let me just explain a few things that went on in the background. I think our previous regs were set up in 1956 and modified through the years for year after year after year. The Planning Commission decided that they were going to do a complete rewrite of the zoning regulations and established a 3-person subcommittee to do that. That subcommittee met 18 times over a number of months, and each of those meetings was posted with the town clerk's office with the agenda, and subsequently the minutes of those meetings were also posted. That subcommittee then made a recommendation to planning and zoning and submitted the draft. We also had a consultant from Cleveland that bid on the work and was selected to assist us. And so this was a many month process that culminated in a public hearing in September, I believe. September 20th, and it was held at Pearson Middle School because we anticipated we would hope to have a large crowd, which we did. And the public hearing at that time was not closed. It continued and was continued to October 11th, and that was done here in this room. And that concluded the process of the review and evaluation for the recommendation for approval. And so the public hearing was closed on the 11th of October. And at the regular meeting of October 24th, 2016, the commission discussed a number of issues that had been brought up during the public hearings, and this was a deliberation phase that we were in. And one of the things that I highlighted, and all these records are online. You can go back in. If you go into our town website and pick on planning and zoning under the boards and commissions, and you pick up planning and zoning, you can pick up all the agendas, and you hit the title of it, and it'll give you what year, and you select the year, and you can go through all the agendas. Likewise, you can do the same thing with minutes. It goes all the way back to 2013. We have really, I think, some good records if somebody's looking at a particular issue to look at. But anyways, this is the October 24th, 2016. These are the minutes from that meeting. And this particular couple of paragraphs are pointed at the Highland Lake Business District. And we had a town planner, his name was Steve Sedlowski, and he, through conversation with some of the property owners up in the area, proposed that putting Stuart Jones home property, body shop property, as well as B&D Landscaping and Sterling Center Technologies in the Highland Lake Business District, and are included in this, in what he recommended as a possible alternate. I'm quoted as saying that, and noted that, and I'm quoting what's in the written section here, that while those businesses are great assets for the community, the Plan of Conservation and Development was trying to steer the town towards getting neighborhoods reconfigured without spots of industrial development scattered within them. He noted that by those businesses existing presently, they will be deemed legally non-conforming. Mr. Melcher, who was a member, and Ms. Wilkes, another member, agreed that Rockville Street was too far to include in the Highland Lake Business District. That pertains specifically to these additional properties. When the subcommittee recommended to the commission and subsequently to the public, the only Highland Lake business zone that we felt was appropriate was protecting the marina. It had been there a long time with Toto's being there, and then the previous owner, and then Mr. Richards and his partner. So we wanted to protect that, and we did in our deliberation and suggestion. And that's what was included in the approved plan. When the gentleman here from the marina brought in an application after purchasing an adjacent piece of property, that's when we who have been, there's a number of us that have been on the commission for a number of years, he pointed out that the waterfront to the, I'm gonna say it's east, toward the old, toward LaPointe's floor covering and his project, that the waterfront along that other area, extending to that area, was in fact in the business district already. Well, that was frankly a surprise. And so this is the reason why we put this together for a public hearing. We've had two other instances where the map that we thought we had agreed upon actually turned out to be some more property. It was included in the business district. It was next to Mr. LaPointe's property. It was a residential property. And we had a public hearing and revised that so that that property stayed in a residential zone. And why we did that was because then there has to be a buffer between commercial and a residential, and that was our intent to protect that. Another issue we had was on North Main Street, which is a gateway zone. Somehow it got included all the way up through Walnut Street. So you've got a residential area that was on the map showing as part of the gateway, which was not part of what we had agreed upon. So we had a public hearing as we're doing it tonight to clear that up and the reason why we were doing it. So that's our thinking, that's why we're here. We feel it's important to air this. If we had picked this up the first time we saw the map, which none of us saw or paid attention to it and saw it, we might treat it then as just a clerical error and, have corrected it. But it's been on the books since 2016. It's a responsibility we have to the community to make sure there's an opportunity to get the feedback from the community and discuss this in an open public hearing. So with all that, I'd like to have a motion to open the public hearing on this PZC 21-11, please.
I still move.
I'll second it.
Peter seconded. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And tonight, what's going to happen, we've got 3 alternates and 5 seated members. While we're in the discussion phase, the entire board can contribute to the discussion. If we do close the public hearing, that's the end of the participation of the alternates, and it's just the seated members. But up until then, everybody has an opportunity to participate. So we've got a number of properties that are in the advertisement for this. And, I'll get my sheet out here. So why don't we open it up? We open the public hearing. Everybody was in favor, I think I called for it. So anybody in the audience like to speak to the issue? Yes, sir.
Should I speak here?
Yes, please.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Peter Alter. I'm a lawyer. I practice law in Glastonbury in the firm of Alter and Pearson. And I'm here tonight representing Eric and Jean Richard, who are here and will also speak. Mr. Chairman, I want to, first of all, present a protest petition to the Commission in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes 8-3B. If 20% of the property owners within the area for which the regulation change is considered lodge a protest with the Commission, then in order to adopt the change, the Commission must act by a 2/3 majority in accordance with the statute.
You can leave that with Pam, please.
The record should note that 100% all of the owners of the properties have signed the protest petition. The owners of 201, 203, 208, 216, and 220 East Lake Street have all indicated that they do not support a change in the zoning designation for their particular properties. They would ask the Commission to leave the property in its current zoning configuration. I did have the opportunity to look at your plan of conservation and development as is on file on your town website, and I frankly don't find any support for the proposal for a zone change for these particular properties. There are additional reasons that I would point out. I'm sure you're going to hear from others this evening as well. In addition to the fact that none of the people who own these properties support the change, the change would particularly affect my clients, who, as you acknowledge in your preliminary comments, are the owners of the marina. They acquired the property for which they're noticed on this public hearing as an adjoining property to their marina business, and they want to be able to continue to manage and grow that business. And a change from the current zoning to a residential zone would cause a great hardship to them, in addition to limiting their ability to make independent use of the property. They acquired that property not that long ago. They paid a fair price for it. To change the zone now would substantially impact the value of that property because it would restrict their ability to use it for their purposes. So that we would ask you to reconsider, and I understand the history that you gave and the fact that this has been a long-standing matter that perhaps the Commission was unaware of. But Mr. and Mrs. Richard were aware of the zone when they acquired the property, and they relied on the fact that that was the zone that they could make use of. So that it would render a significant impact on them if the zone were now to be changed out of the lake business zone that it currently has. So I would ask you to reconsider your position. I would suggest that when all of the people who are affected by a zone change don't want it, that's a pretty significant message to your Commission that perhaps their needs need to be reconsidered.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Eric Richards, this is my wife Jean. We've been through a few of these public hearings and they're quite stressful. And I always get to hear histories, so I figured this time I'm gonna share with you my history of Highland Lake. I've been a Winchester resident and a Highland Lake resident for over 45 years. My love of this lake has transformed my life twice. I've spent every summer on this lake my entire life and cherish every minute. As soon as I graduated college, got my engineering job, and went and bought a ski boat. I skied with a couple of close friends who lived at the lake every morning for years, until one of them finally convinced me to be a school teacher, so I could spend more time on the lake. This was the first transformation that the lake caused for my life. While we're out there skiing every morning, a common topic of conversation was the marina and the potential that it had. So when it came up for sale, and I purchased it, this was the second change that this lake has had in my life. I tell you this because at these public hearings, my wife and I go home and we feel as if we're destroying the lake in this community by what we're doing. When in actuality, we're trying to improve the lake experience to let others enjoy the lake with their families as I was able to do when I was growing up. So to discuss this property, 220 East Lake Street, it's right next door to the marina. Some of you may remember a few years ago, this was not one of the prettiest properties in town. The property consists of a two-family house, a large garage in back with 2 apartments over it, and a commercial zone waterfront bordering the marina. We bought the property for 2 reasons. The first reason was the 40 by 70 garage in the back property abutting the marina. How nice would this have been to be able to use this garage to give the marina a little extra space? Since 3 sides of the property are commercial, one in back is a commercial warehouse operating in a residential area. The other side is the marina, and the front is a commercial zone waterfront piece. But in August of this year, when I tried to apply to have this changed to commercial, the commission denied us, so the marina was not allowed to use it. The second reason for buying this property was the commercial zone waterfront and the value it has for the marina. We are currently using it for dock storage and displaying boat lists for sale. We have been asked 1 million times, what are you gonna do with it? The answer is we truly don't know what we're gonna do with it. The undertaking of buying this blight marina 3 years ago and transforming it into an operational marina has taken so much of our energy and resources, we don't have a plan for 220 East Lake Street at this point. What we do know is that if someone else bought it, let it go back to an eyesore with a 4-family apartment housing next to it would not be good for the lake community. Now at this public hearing, the commission wants to strip the waterfront property of its commercial zoning to make it residential, so the marina cannot use this and dramatically reduce the property's value. I'm completely against this change and see no good reason for doing so.
So in addition to the petition that we signed with all the affected property owners, there are plenty of lake residents, even Winston residents, that are against this change. We have over 40 letters and of people letting us know that they are against this change. I'll give that to Pam, and I urge you guys to read it. People have taken their time to, really explain that they are against this, and so, as you were saying, I understand that this came as a surprise, but we just would like to know a little bit more about, like, what is this gonna impact? Is this really gonna impact the health, the safety of the marina, of the community? Or is it gonna just help us to grow and expand, as everyone is saying?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to the issue? Yes, sure.
My name is Pat Renzullo. I practice at 65 Elm Street in town here. I represent Stuart Jones, his wife Karen, and Stuart Jones Restorations. My client came here in 1976. He bought a dilapidated industrial building. He restored it to a beautiful condition. He's installed seawalls and really improved the property. He has a national reputation for restoring old Jaguars. I asked him, if you look at mine, but he said it was too new. And it's a 2005. Anyway, I have to say, in 1976, I sat where you are sitting. I was chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and at that time, we had, this property would have been in an industrial zone. His use was a permitted use as an automotive repair shop. And it wasn't until, the history you gave, it wasn't until 1989 that the Highland Lake districts came into effect. And unfortunately, when the zone change went into effect, I don't know about the publication of it. I tried to find records as to whether or not it was published. I know that there is a regulation that requires it to be published after review by the town manager. That's section 153. I don't know if it ever was, but in any case, my client was not personally made aware of the proposed zone change. And I don't understand why a commission could not notify members of the public who are actually personally affected by the zone change. It would not seem to be overly burdensome to do that. I understand notice publication by publication in a newspaper for the rest of the town, I think would be sufficient. But for those people actually who are potentially harmed, like my client, his use in repairing these automobiles, a very rare thing for such such a use, and he is now, he doesn't have permitted use. So when it comes time for him to retire, perhaps sell his business or give it to a family member, whatever, he's limited. And that just shouldn't be. He should have had an opportunity to address the board at that time. We join with Attorney Apter's observation that all the owners up there affected by this change are unified, and nobody wants it. And what is the board? The board seems to be relying on the planner's recommendation, who's no longer here to discuss it with us, but it sounds to me like the board is saying, okay, we've got these entities that seem to be working, paying all their taxes, putting a lot of money into their properties. We want to replace it with single-family homes. That doesn't seem necessarily to be the best use for this property. The best use is what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. So I could say that I know my clients want to address the board themselves, but it just seems to me, at least certainly for my clients, 210 East Lake, 201, and 208, this is harmful to them. And they certainly are opposed to it. I would ask the board to take into account that they've been good citizens, they've been active at the lake, they've been responsible business owners, they improved their property, they put a wall by the lake, they made the building much better than ever before. And so I think they're responsible people, and they deserve an opportunity to bar this zone. This zone is not for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stu Jones. And before we start, I would just like to say that there are some amongst us that believe that industry is evil and that it should be banished from Highland Lake. Let me just take you back a little bit and remind you that the very beginning of life on Highland Lake was a sawmill and a grist mill, and using the water power coming out the end of the lake. And also, let me say that the lake is, to a great extent, a creation of industry. Everyone thinks it's natural. Ooh, God put it there? No. Somebody dammed up the lake 9 foot. And if you want to think about what the lake used to be, just imagine a full drawdown, 8-foot drawdown, and what it looks like. That's what the real lake was. So all of you that have these nice waterfronts and are so happy with them, remember, it was industry that put them there. Now, my end of the lake has been industrial for a long time. As I said, sawmill, grist mill, ice houses. There was a boathouse right next to me, a boat repair shop. And of course, my place was an ice house, then it was a factory, and now it's an auto repair shop. I don't know what else I can tell you, but the industry has been there since the beginning of the lake. Before any of the cottages and the McMansions were built, there was a sawmill, grist mill, ice houses. All right, I have a prepared statement here. I'm not too good with the teleprompter, so Karen is gonna read it for me.
Okay. I gave everyone a package with a copy of it in it. My name is Stu Jones. I have lived on Highland Lake on Cameron Point starting in the late 1960s and purchased the ice house property, 199 and 201 East Lake in 1976. In 1978, I built my home on the ice house lot. In 1996, I purchased 208 and 210 East Lake, the old Carter House. In 1998, I constructed the red steel building on 210 East Lake that we call the barn. I've been a good steward of Highland Lake and have aided the Highland Lake Association with hosting fundraisers and meetings. I have devoted a lifetime to improving my properties and making them sustainable, which has improved greatly the desirability of my neighborhood. Stu and Karen Jones own more than 3 acres of waterfront property. The zoning board is backing us into a zoning corner. Previously, 201 East Lake and 210 East Lake were zoned industrial too, and without any notification, we now find that 210 East Lake, our barn, is zoned town single family, and that 201 East Lake is Highland Lake Business District, and soon to be Highland Lake District. Both of these properties were industrial too, and we only now realize that they have been rezoned with more zoning to come. We have received no registered mail to notify us of such changes. Both 210 East Lake and 201 East Lake are obviously automobile restoration facilities and not adaptable to residential occupancy. In the Highland Lake Business District, permissible exceptions, there are no mention of automobile restoration or repair, which has the end result of snuffing out automobile restoration in both locations. This is not fair or reasonable. The 210 East Lake Industrial Zone property has been rezoned to town single family without any notification. This property is surrounded on 3 sides by Sterling Sintered and B&B Landscaping, both of which are also obviously industrial and have recently been rezoned to town single family. Even though my business is grandfathered at both locations, should I end my business or die, neither property could be used again for automobile restoration or repair ever. We would propose that the Highland Lake Business District include a permissible exception for automobile repair restoration. 210, the barn, East Lake, should be zoned Highland Lake Business District, and that 201 East Lake should remain Highland Lake Business District. It has also been proposed that the waterfront at 208 East Lake be rezoned from Highland Lake Business District to Highland Lake District. We do own a long-standing right to First Bay Marina, which is a permissible exception in Highland Lake Business District, but not in Highland Lake District. Karen would lose considerable property value should these marina rights be snuffed out by a zoning change. facilities only usable as residences, relief from this onerous zoning is our only option. The only financial feasible future for these properties would be low-income 830G affordable housing, which after a lifetime of seeking to improve the properties would make us very sad and leave our neighbors with an unfortunate legacy and Winstead a school burden expense. We hope that the zoning board understands what we have said tonight because the future health of our neighborhood is at stake. Respectfully, Karen and Stu Jones. And then I just want to go over the pictures with you. There's 9 pictures, and the first one is what the property looked like when we bought it, the centered building. What it looked like in 1976. It was zoned industrial 2. It was previously the home of John Hannon Ice House and Capital Products Factory. Picture number 2 is the front of the ice house as it looked when we purchased it. Photo 3 is 201 East Lake Street, the same building, rezoned to Highland Lake Business District from Industrial 2. Highland Lake Business District has no provisions for an automobile repair special permit, and upon Stu's retirement, no further automotive work in this building ever. Today, December 13th, 2021, the zoning board proposes to change the building zoning to Highland Lake District, which will limit future use to a residence after Stu's retirement. Without a viable use, this building will not be sustainable. Photo 4 is the ice house today. It's home of the world-class Jaguar restoration business. The improvements to this building are not a result of overreaching zoning, but to the contrary. Its previous industrial 2 zoning allowed Stu the freedom to craft a building to meet the needs of his business. Photo 5 is 210 East Lake, Stu Jones Restoration, what we refer to as the barn. Automobile restoration facility that we built in 1998. That's 6,100 square feet on 1.75 acre industrial property, now rezoned to town single family. Upon Stu's retirement, no further automotive work in this building forever. Future use is limited to a 2-family residence, a cemetery, a mausoleum.
Or a pot farm.
That's what I was thinking today, but maybe we could grow,
Maybe grow pot, yeah.
maybe we can grow cannabis there.
Farming is,
Allowable.
yeah.
Yep. Other uses eliminated by impervious surface requirements. These uses will not generate a sustainable income, leaving a low-income, affordable, government-subsidized 830G development the only financially feasible use for this property. The 830G will eliminate zoning board regulations and allow high-density housing with waterfront access. Photo 6. 3 previously industrial zone properties. 210 East Lake, which is our building, the barn. 249 Rockwell Street, which is Sterling Sintering. And 227 Rockwell Street, B&D Landscaping, which have been rezoned town single family. Zone town single family, all of these businesses will be permanently out of business when the present businesses are terminated. They can never be used again for any business activity ever. One can only speculate as to how these properties will be converted to town single family regulations. Photo number 7 is an overview of town single family zone industrial area, which includes Stu Jones Restoration, Sterling Centered, B&B Landscaping, also Highland Lake District Residential, and Highland Lake Business District, and the Marina. Many municipalities support and subsidize businesses' development, while Winstead has a deliberate policy of snuffing out homegrown businesses. Photo number 8, town single-family zone industrial area. Highland Lake District Residential and Highland Lake Business District from a different angle. This photo illustrates the areas land use diversity, soon to be white bread single family. And the last photo, 208 East Lake waterfront, includes new stone walls, presently zoned Highland Lake Business District. Property includes deeded First Bay Marina, which would be snuffed out under Highland Lake District regulations being proposed this evening. In the background, 208 East Lake, Highland Lake District is we have a colonial house there, 1772 Captain Lewis House. It's the white colonial. It's the second oldest house in Winchester, and it's nicely restored also. So would you like to say anything else?
Yes, the zoning board is reconfiguring my property, repurposing my property at my expense, greatly degrading the value of my property. It's not sustainable as a residence or any of the other uses. Maybe a pot farm would make it, but I'm not much on that, even though I come from a long line of farmers. It just is not fair, and I plan to leave both of my properties to my children, and I expected that they would be here for generations. You have Joneses here on those properties for generations to come, because they all love the properties. At this point, I think we're gonna pull out, because it's gonna be a hellhole. I also have to say that I'm well situated for building 830Gs, as my son David Jones, owns Revival Homes, is about to build a 12-unit, low-income project up in Norfolk. And next year, he'll be looking for another location for such a project. What you do with these businesses here, you can't make them unsustainable. They have to be able to make a living. I'm doing a nice job with it, and I'm just shocked that I've been backed into this corner. Have at it.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Just for the record, you're Karen Jones?
Yes.
Do you have a copy?
Oh,
for me?
sure.
Sure. Sorry.
Anybody else would like to speak to this issue?
Good evening, board members. On behalf of my wife, Yvonne Castro, and myself, Victoria Castro, we object to the Planning and Zoning Commission on the public hearing of the adoption and modification of the zoning designations for the 5 properties in the town of Winchester. The main reason we purchased the property located on 203 East Lake Street was it was located in a business district, which enables us some flexibility with the use of the land, example, building dimensions, placement, and uses. We planned on adding a downstairs bedroom and an office for my wife's business. The downstairs bedroom is for me due to my injury I sustained in my left leg, making it difficult going up and down the stairs, so having a first floor bedroom added will be a great health benefit and convenience. I have held a handicap sticker, which I use daily for the past 8 years. In the near future, my wife will be registering, transferring, and moving her business, Eve Care Home Healthcare, to 203 East Lake Street with an office in a house and working with her clients. We also spoke with Matt Clausen, a contractor well-known and has done a lot of work around the lake. He advised us, after reviewing all of the zoning guidelines, that we were able to pursue our addition and goals with no issues because we live in a business district. Under the HLB, Highland Lake Business District, zoning section 2, building dimensions and placement use, it will allow us a maximum of 75% impervious surface. Minimum setbacks such as front 5 feet, side 5 feet, and the lake high water mark 0 feet. And lastly, the height of 50, not that we would go above 50. The HL Highland Lake District will constrict us from building our addition and make it difficult in my later years with my mobility. Under uses to special permit required, I'm not an attorney, so I will have to research this further. Retail personal service would be compromised as well. If I had a crystal ball, or if these zoning changes were given to us prior to our closing in 2017, we would not have purchased this home. At this point, you, the panel, will potentially force us to sell a property, and at that point, contact the ADA, the American Disability Act, and an attorney. The couple of businesses that I have surrounding our home have been great for the town of Winchester and Winchester. The marina, the B&B, down the street have brought in so much businesses to the merchants in town. The town is howling. Streets are full, starting from a Tuesday night till Sunday night. It doesn't get any better than this, especially for our town. Our next door neighbor, the Joneses, Stu and Karen, are great members of the watershed organization and a fixture in our community. Have a great business going on, which has never been a problem with us. We can't say enough good things about them, the Gravels, Mary Ann and Ron. In closing, it would be a great injustice for this panel, board of members, to change the HLB, Highland Lake Business District, to HL Highland Lake District. My wife and I purchased this property because it was the business district. You board members are cutting our legs from under us, from fulfilling our dreams. This may force us to sell a home and shatter our dreams. Sincerely, Doug and Yvonne Castro.
Does anyone else have something that would like to contribute to the meeting?
My name's Ron Gravel at 260 East Lake Street. I'm opposed to any zoning change or lower the value of my property. I'm here in support of Eric and Karen and Stu. They're great neighbors. They do a great job in our community. In our neighborhood, it was not the nicest place. You know, the marina was always not so nice. Now it's beautiful. There's a whole different clientele that's there. Everything is nice and clean, painted and refreshed. I'd hate to see that change. And I'm here to support my neighbors in this. Okay?
Thank you. Anyone else have something to contribute to the meeting?
I'm a new resident here, 1 year next Sunday. I use the businesses all that are here.
Excuse me, sir, could you just identify yourself for the record?
Yes, Frank Oliveri, 108 Shore Drive. I'm a resident as of December 1st of last year. I use these services of all these companies because I like to support community. And it's a fine community. But if you're gonna destroy it, then it's gonna cost me money because the taxes are gonna go through the goddamn roof. And then I'll sue you if they don't. So let's be fair. Let's keep the industry that's here to support the community and then let the community take care of itself. Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience?
I have one more thing to say. I think there's some confusion about the term grandfathering of business. And some people think that it means the property is grandfathered. But it should be made clear that only the business is grandfathered. And as a for instance, should I croak, there's no more car repair at 201 East Lake.
Yes.
Good evening, Candy Perez, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard. I've been on the lake since 1963. Know the Joneses very well, know others around the lake too. In terms of the zoning laws, in terms of what you name the district, that's, I wanted to make sure that, the concern for vessels was on the record.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else in the audience have, like to contribute to the discussion?
My name's Sean McGlynn, 61 Wetmore Avenue. I'm a resident and a business owner here in town. I wanted to come to support Eric and Jeannie and the marina. The thing that comes to my mind in listening is, I've been asked a number of times if the town has been supportive of me and my business. And they have. And I think it's so important. And I think that doing this may give the message that the town doesn't support its businesses. And right now, when we're trying to fill storefronts and keep this town moving forward as it has been, I really think we want to send the message that we support our businesses. And I don't feel like this is the best way to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else, please?
My name is Mike Mersky. I live at 125 Shore Drive. I'm here to support Eric and Jean. I am a customer of the marina, and I just wanted to show support that what they've done with the place and the opportunity that's provided for a lot of people to enjoy the lake. It's been a positive improvement from what was there before they purchased it, the falling down buildings, the junk, just the decay of everything, and it's brought added value to the lake and to the neighborhood. And I know that there is a concern with, obviously, with any business growth and improvement, come popularity. I mean, that's, anybody makes money with a successful business. So, yes, there has been more activity at the marina, but there's also been limitations placed on what can and can't be done there. And I feel that, you know, there really is no threat of more boats, more expansion, because you really can't do anything with 90 feet of waterfront property. We're gonna be concerned about boat traffic, on any given weekend. Anybody who's been up there, there's, at 10 a.m., there's a waiting line to get into the state ramp for people to come and use the lake, which is a state ramp, it's a public lake, anybody can use it. But you walk down the street and you're looking at maybe 5 empty slips on a given Saturday, 10 maybe on the 4th of July of those people using out of the 40. So I would say that while the marina has grown and has provided a lot of people with good opportunity to the lake, you know, I see that there are other things that are contributing to the use, the excessive use or the overuse of the lake, and it's not just one single entity. So I just wanted to point that out. Is I think that there's other things that need to be looked at versus, you know, just a business operating on the shoreline. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have something to contribute?
Good evening, I'm John Pollock of 502 East Wakefield Boulevard. And like most people here, I've lived on the lake many years. I know Stu Jones, and he's had his business there for many years. And the other people around here have had businesses. And I guess over the years, everything has been going pretty well. And my conclusion would be that they were zoned originally to have their business there. I don't think we should really be taking it away. If we just leave everything the way it is, it may work out. And my only other concern is, if this passes, or if it doesn't pass, we should just make sure that the water is protected. And as someone else mentioned before, I guess my main concern would be the size of the marina. I guess we have like 40 boat slips there, and I would be concerned if we increased that. I think 40 is more than enough, especially on the weekends. It's very busy up here, and in the future, it's gonna, hopefully gonna get more busy. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else in the audience like to contribute to this discussion?
Evening, members. Michael Farrell, 147 Shore Drive. Pretty simple thinker here. I came to support the folks in the marina because I have a slip at the marina. But I kind of changed my mind. I'm supporting all my neighbors, actually. It's a good thing. From what I'm hearing, I'm kind of new to this fight, but I think we have clearly demonstrated from business owners and people with really significant ties to the community, they've demonstrated the benefit of status quo right now. And I don't think that the audience, and certainly not the community, I don't think we've heard yet from the commission the benefit of making a change. The only thing I have heard is that this was gonna be converted to residential, and all I see with residential is a burden on the schools. And a burden on the schools means a burden on the taxpayers. So I can't see how that's a good thing. But clearly, all of these people are operating businesses that are a benefit to the community. There's a myriad of reasons that we don't need to hear the minutia, but it's everybody comes to town to go to the marina, they bring their car, they conduct business, they stop at Mario's for dinner, they stop at Cumberland Farms for gas, they go to our businesses. It's good for the town, there's good return on that investment. So we've heard clearly demonstrated positives, but I'm hearing nothing. And again, I'm new to the fight. I did do some research online, and quite frankly, I didn't go back to 2016 because I know you said this issue's been on the books. Well, it really hasn't been on the books because you didn't drop the gavel on it. It was mentioned, but until this commission drops the gavel, it's not on the books. It's just out there. And these people entered into business agreements under the premise that that was not the case. So now we come into the 11th hour and we want to pull the rug out from under them. That seems counterproductive for this community. And we're going through a little bit of a renaissance here. I'm relatively new, but I've owned property here in the city, in the town, back to 1994. So I have seen the renaissance. I remember when the place burned down, it would have been a vast improvement back in the day. But they did a heck of a job. So let's come on board. Come on board and be a part of the renaissance. Let's not do something that would suggest that we're obstructionists. It just seems counterproductive. And speaking to your Honor's concern about the boats, the number of boats on the lake, I had to write this down. Local boats are good boats. I'm a member of the Highland Lake Watershed Association, and we're like most of the people here. What do we hear? Milfoil. Milfoil. As the lake goes, so goes the town. And if we don't control the number of transient boats, we're gonna lose the lake. Because we're grappling every year with, Frank, your cove, weeds, worse and worse and worse. They don't come from native boats. They don't come from boats at the marina. They come from the boats that are being trailered in. So if we wanna control that, and I agree, we have a vested interest in doing that, we need to talk to our state reps, our senators, our representatives in deep. When you gave the launch away years ago, long before I was here, dumbest thing in the world we could ever done, and you're never getting it back. So the best we can do is go to our reps and control that absolute zoo that is that launch on Saturdays and Sundays. That is gonna ruin the lake. You lose the lake, you lose the town. Pretty simple. So, I stand in support of my neighbors. Let's be part of the renaissance. Let's not be obstructionists.
Anybody else from the audience like to speak?
I don't think you could have that.
Oh, that's true. That's good. Commissioners, any comments with regards to the, so we get responses if we need to? Troy?
I joined this commission to be a servant and help the people of this town. And I heard a lot from these people tonight, and changed my mind.
Okay.
one thing that was pointed out here tonight is a little disparity in the zoning, because we have Sterling and then B&D as residential, and they're clearly industry. So we need to look at that. Let me point out first that I am a resident of Highland Lake. I am on the Highland Lake Board, Watershed Board of Directors. I know Stu and Karen, I know Eric. I think operating businesses that have been there for a long time, there should be a little protection for them. These little, the 203 East Lake Street property, I never knew that that was commercial. The little pieces, the 221, 220, 216, and 208, being commercial, I don't really see a benefit to those three pieces. The zoning regulations limit one marina on Highland Lake. So, and I think Eric is limited to 40 boats, am I correct? Okay, so having those three pieces as commercial, I don't quite understand the benefit. We can't have another marina, so there can't be boat rentals or anything like that, because that comes under marina. If Eric was to, or if somebody was to join these pieces of property together, but those are actually governed by Army Corps of Engineers, I believe, because they're part of the diking. So that has to get, for alterations and anything, that has to go through the permitting process, because I think Stu and Karen went through a lot of hoops when they put in their improved waterfront on the dike.
Year and a half.
So it's not just us saying it can be business, I think it also has to be, the Corps has to weigh in on it, because you're now changing the use of that dike. I think this has opened up our eyes to a lot of problems, and I think those other two properties need to be addressed also.
Sure.
That's it.
All right, Peter?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Will that, this has brought to our attention other errors that were made back when the zoning regulations were revised, and they were missed by our planner at the time that we paid good money toward, and the business that looked over it. So, they were missed, and it's something we're gonna have to research more and look at.
Which is an issue for another.
Definitely, yeah.
time, But,
No,
yeah, you're
definitely.
right. No, that's true. I think that's the value of, this is
The
why.
public has given us a lot of good input,
Yeah.
and that's what we need.
Well, that's one of the reasons why when we, I don't know if everybody was aware, but there was a state act that came out in June or July that took away a portion of our ability to local control. And this commission voted to opt out of it, which we could do, and the Board of Selectmen did also. So we don't lose the local control, because this, tonight, to see the participation and the very, very honest and I think forthright communication, just reinforces why I'm even involved in any of these, volunteer things, is because we have this ability to be able to communicate, and you get a board that's gonna listen and think about what the decisions and the implications are of it. So, Craig?
Are you telling me that 830G is not valid in Winchester?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. What came out in this, the land use thing that was just, we opted out, was auxiliary apartments on any piece of property just by getting a zoning permit. We already have the ability to, and we put it in our regulations, to do auxiliary apartments, but it has to be, we have the opportunity reviewing it. It has a special permit so that we notify the neighbors of the action that's proposed. We can look at parking, appropriate stormwater, sewer, water, and so forth. That's the only part of that whole law that they came up with, which the state wanted to supersede our ability to review those things. It had nothing to do with that category that you were talking about. Great.
Okay, I was one of the original ones who was involved with this, these zoning changes. I was also intimately involved in the decision to make the industrial complex part of the Highland Lake, or how to accommodate it, I think would be a better word. And I don't think all of the ramifications were evident at the time. I myself am a business owner. I, like Stu, am getting the end of my time. And I know that I don't believe I ever felt that what we did was going to put that type of restriction. Really what our intent was. We spent 18 bloody weeks on this thing, months. So I think it's something we should consider, in my opinion, to accommodate some of these legal issues. And I think there's, again, ramifications here that weren't anticipated. I mean, I don't want to see a hot dog stand on every waterfront by any means, but existing businesses have done well. I know Stu personally, and I just think we should consider it, reconsider it, excuse me, the language.
John?
I'm gonna requote what Greg said. We were not aware of all the ramifications, and what is great about.
Speak up, please.
We were not aware of all the ramifications, and what's great about having the community meetings and having everybody come out is, you can make a difference. And hearing what was heard today, I have to go along with Troy in saying that, you know, I would definitely take a different stance based on what we heard, and I'm overwhelmed that people came out like you did, and this is what makes a difference. This is what makes a change, and I think we are trying to do the right thing. I'm here as a volunteer to make the town better, not worse. That's exactly why I'm here, and I like to think that that's what we're doing. And I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Charlene?
Well, I'm a new, and I'm a non-voting member, but I just have a question, actually, because I'm looking at this little blow-up of that part of, this is the, you know, end of the lake. Your place, Karen.
Okay.
But I see 220 East Lake right next to the marina, right? But the place, is that part of this property? What's across this is red, this is already, looks like it's zoned residential, across the street from 220, that's right on the lake. Do you know, am I not being clear? Do you not, can you not?
It's the Highland Lake District is the red.
So,
Yes.
but does this property belong to that property? Or these separate?
Yes.
Yes.
So part of it is residential and part of it is
Right.
business?
They're two separate parcels, but they go together. They're drawn together.
Oh, I see, so it isn't one parcel?
Correct.
Okay. Is that everybody's understanding? Okay,
Can I ask a question? You said it's two separate parcels. Was it two separate parcels, each has their own deed, or are they two parcels on one deed?
I believe they came in as two parcels on one deed.
Okay.
Parcel one, parcel two.
so it's the same owner right now, okay.
But we're getting taxed separately. You send us separate tax bills for the waterfront, separate tax bills for the residential.
Yeah, no, I know where, Stu, I know where yours is. I know what yours is. I'm just looking at this little piece right here, which is right next to the marina on the lake. But it looked, you know, if you walk, I walk by, you know, I walk the lake every day. So I thought that was the frontage for that property on the other side of the street. And apparently it is, but it's the same owner, but it's two separate parcels, I guess. Okay, so that means it can be zoned separately? I'm just,
Let me.
maybe I shouldn't be going into this here.
Let me describe something. When the 1956 zoning was then modified, I don't know what it was it 89, Stu, where the Highland Lake District was established? And the way that was established and defined, at least from my understanding, is it was, the outside boundary was 800 feet from the high water mark. So that actually
I see.
dissected, went through multiple pieces of property that
Yeah,
had no common
yeah.
ownership.
Right,
And also intercepted different zones. And because of that, the most restrictive zone dictated what could be done on that lot. So that's one of the things we strove to do here in this redo of the
Right.
regulations, was to define the zones by property line
Right.
definition.
and this is just an example of where that didn't happen. You know.
Well, that's why it was brought up, because
Okay.
it was our
'Cause it's the
understanding
same
that
next, it's the same next door on
Yes, that's correct.
216 and
That's
208. It looks like a residence there and then a business thing across the
Right.
street on the water.
Right.
Same thing, they're all separate parcels? But deeded on, okay. All right, so just more property weirdness in Winstead. I mean, it's a 300-year-old town, we get it. That's weird. But I have a perspective to add to this, since there's so many people here, which I think is really pointed out in Karen's great picture number 8. And it's quite a shot from way back there, because I live in this neighborhood too, but I live off the lake. I live down off of Route 263. But I know the neighborhood well, because I've lived here for 30 years. And I think what was trying to be, boy, this is really an eye-opening thing. I think what the planning and zoning was trying to do back several years ago was look at the town and say, well, it's not an old industrial town anymore. So why aren't our zoning regs reflecting that? And I say that because as I look down here and over in my neighborhood, there's some old industrial buildings there, you know, that really are keeping the neighborhood from flourishing as a downtown neighborhood of a vibrant little town. Really. And there's really no way to get rid of these things except to rezone areas, and eventually they'll come back as a, you know, I don't think we're gonna come back as an industrial community. Maybe industry will come back to America, but I don't think I'm way off by saying, I think, you know, as I look at this, this is a huge block right on the lake that's industry. I guess you all like it, you live there, and.
They're supporting us.
No, I understand, that's fine.
Not some old brick building that nobody's using.
I understand.
That maybe somebody should look at getting rid of.
I agree.
But when, you know,
But
people
my
go
point,
to work every day and
excuse
do
me,
service.
I'm speaking. And when you spoke, I let you speak. And my point is only simply that to look at a town and say, what has it become after 300 years? You might reasonably say, well, there shouldn't be industry within residential areas. You want to build up residences. You want to bring people to live here with their children and populate the schools. So it's just not old fogies like us. But, you know, and you could reasonably say, well, somebody's got to start. Somebody's got to start. Maybe not the Joneses or, you know, those couple of little places right along here. But somewhere it's got to start. Because Winstead's not kept up. We're this old, beat-up industry, you know, people want to live in neighborhoods and walk downtown. Well, they can't, because there's a lot of crap and junk and, you know, garbage stuff in these neighborhoods. I live in the neighborhood.
I do too.
I don't know, you live on the lake.
Sunday I spent the day in the Mill Building with all the arts and crafts doing
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah,
shopping.
I understand.
You know, that should bring people, that should.
It does. It
And
does.
that's what the town should.
But these, on this end, on this side, on the west end, it doesn't. It doesn't. These places don't do that, and they don't intend to. I mean, you have the old Hickey hat factory, I mean, really. But anyway, that's a perspective, because I've been a resident for so long, and I can see how planning and zoning was trying to say, how do we look at the town, which nobody's done really in 100 years, and say, how do we start to shape it more to a modern era? It doesn't have to be on the backs of this little strip along the Highland Lake, but I think we have to I think we have to think about these things, and I think that's what we've been doing.
Okay.
I mean, I've been aware of that. I haven't been on the board that long, but, so that's just a bigger observation of the good work of this commission. A lot of these members have been on for years.
I have a comment to make. You bring up a couple of good points. You mentioned things like maybe there's some old fogies, the town needs to move forward. I think we've all seen.
Excuse me, could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, absolutely. Kathleen Farrell, 123 Shore Drive, 207 Shore Drive. Longtime resident of Avon. In full disclosure, that great order is my brother. So, I'll be honest with you. A year and a half ago, my brother called me and said, you come to Highland Lake and look at a house. I said, where the is Highland Lake? Within a few months, I bought 2 houses. I still own a home in Avon. I'll be honest with you, I think I've slept there once in the past 8 months. As someone who has 2 houses, and I know we're not talking about, and in full disclosure, I am here to support you. Okay, hauled ass back from Avon to get here today, okay? Pardon my language. You brought up a couple of good points, ma'am. And I don't know how relative it is to this particular acute topic, but as my brother said, we can all be part of the solution of this town growing. We just have a wine bar that opened up. Who in their right mind would have ever thought there'd be a wine bar opening in Winchester? It's fantastic. Perhaps those of you who have been on this board for a long time, we so appreciate what you do. But maybe the mentality and the outlook has to move with the times so that there are resident people that do want to come here and build, people that do want to make their houses look nicer without constipated ideas of what can't be done and what can be done. So I think you illustrate something that can be a coaching moment for all of us, ma'am, and that is that maybe some of the members of all the committees that represent the town on issues like bettering the marina, bringing people in to move here, be residents. I think we've all got to start to think a little bit differently. This is an old town. There is a lot of old mentality, and as someone who is new to this town, my initial observation is that there's a lot of old constipated ideas that don't go along with the town moving forward. And you brought them up, ma'am, in a very, very open manner, but.
I was young when I moved here.
Well, you're old, the older you get, the more taxes we're paying, correct? So, I think perhaps the boards that serve us, and we value all your volunteer time, perhaps maybe stepping back, looking at yourselves, looking at the rules that are on the table, looking at the things that people are trying to do, rather than saying, well, this can't be done, we can't do this. Do more of what you're doing tonight, saying, whoa, hold on a minute. We need to open our minds a little bit more and give this some more thought. That's all I have to say about moving forward with residences, businesses, and for someone who plans to just live the rest of my time here. Thank you.
Follow that up.
Let's finish with the, Felix.
Well, what can I say now? I'm new to the board. I do live on the lake, and
And he's young.
Ish. And I fully support what you guys saying. I mean, I think it would be a huge mistake on changing these regulations, for sure.
All right. Patsy?
Pat Renzullo, one thing I did want to point out, the initial Highland Lake District ordinance actually excluded industrial and commercial zones. It referred to the initial map. So right from the beginning, the idea was to do something for the industrial or defines industrial use, refers back to the commercial zone. Auto repairs was a permitted use in the commercial zone, and a permitted use therefore in the industrial zone, which was specifically excluded back in 1989.
Good.
So I think that's important, how we look at how we got to where we are now.
Sure.
We don't wanna hurt the businesses that are up there, they're a benefit, and they seem to be, so.
Well, you know, all the give and take tonight, this is the purpose of the public hearing. It doesn't mean because it's a subject that's put out there for a decision, doesn't mean that the decision's already predetermined from our standpoint. The commission is only as good as the participation of our neighbors and the rest of the community. We don't have a lock on all the ideas, for sure. And when we were putting these things together, it's a real shame somebody didn't have a fire under people's behind, be able to come in and participate and contribute to these kinds of discussions. Because we're only as good as what we work together to create. And so, I mean, I've been here, my mother and father came up in 1962 when we bought on, or they bought on the lake. And I came back from the Air Force in 1970 and bought in 71. So I've been here a couple of years also. But this kind of give and take is extremely valuable in how we shape the vision of our community and as we move forward. But sometimes the vision, you have to look forward and try to see how you can change things so that we don't, the current users, like Stu and like yourself, that's not gonna be the situation forever. So you gotta think in terms of, you know, some of the turnover of some of these buildings has not been real positive, but the zoning helps to restrict the continuation or expansion of some of these things that are just not,
Appropriate,
appropriate for areas, but
yeah, for residential areas,
but anyways.
yeah.
So, we're still open in conversations. Did any of the conversation trigger anybody else's interest in making additional statements without saying the same thing over again?
One
Okay.
thing.
Yes, Stu?
I think industry is appropriate in an industrial area until you decide it's not an industrial area anymore. And I haven't heard any complaints about my business. Nobody's saying, oh, it's a bad thing to be a neighbor to. Everybody's pleased. And I think one thing that you have to remember, these properties are very valuable. And no one's gonna take and put a Meineke muffler shop in Sue Jones's building, okay? The value of the properties kinda act to regulate the properties. And I don't know if you really understand that, but I've been here a long time, and I've watched it, and it works.
Okay, any other comments from the members of the community that are here? Any more comments? Yes.
One thing, I hope that the commission would consider actual notice to the people who would be most affected by the change. You ask, well, why didn't you come earlier? We had all these meetings. Well, the people don't pay attention to, if you publish it in a newspaper, unless they know they're specifically affected by it. So, my client, he didn't think he was at risk until he finally figured out years later, look what they did to him. What I do is no longer permitted use. So then, of course, everybody's eyes, you awaken, but it's because people who are most affected don't really pay attention to the notice that's out there, but I'm saying it's inadequate, especially when you're considering what you're taking away from people. Certified letter will not be that costly to the commission.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, good example. I live on 203 East Lake Street. This says 220 East Lake. So if you had 18 meetings, I would have been at each and every 18th meeting to discuss this. So,
I don't know who
I'm
addressed
just
that.
like, it's right here, this is where, this is.
Well, that's fine, but we didn't initiate that out of here, so I don't know where it came from the staff or whatever. But that's a good point. I mean, if you don't get proper notice, it's hard to respond. Any other comments from the commission? Do you have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second.
And a second from John? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, thank you.
This is going on big time.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to do mixed use, you know, industrial, and put in.
Anything for mixed use is tough. Really, it's
Unbelievable.
real difficult. I was reading
Big
a piece in the
companies
paper
have
about
got
it.
lawyers going, you
Yep.
won't believe.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, especially when
we've
you
got
all the
another,
waterfront.
we've got another issue on our agenda, if we could, please.
Yes.
There's tons of waterfront properties.
Only Geo.
Yeah, I know.
No, I wasn't here.
No, we haven't.
It was over Thanksgiving.
We've got another agenda item, if we could, please.
George was good about it. First of all, get a map that we can read.
Next item is, actually, we've got,
Public hearing.
well, under the public hearings,
B, the special permit?
right, okay. I don't have my glasses on, so.
Okay,
it's a
well,
mess.
that's good.
Sorry. All right, PZC 21-12, special permit, location 632 East Wakefield Boulevard. Applicant Delay Masonry, owner Jonathan Abrams. Proposal clear cutting of trees and development of existing slope over 15% and over 25%. Good evening.
Shall I read the legal notice?
I'm sorry?
Shall I read the legal
Yeah,
notice?
yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Notice is hereby given that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, December 13th, 2021 at 1700 East Branch Picture, located on the second floor of the Winchester Town Hall, 338 Main Street, Winchester, the following application. PCC 21-12, clear cutting of trees and development with existing slope over 15% and over 25%, 632 East Winchester Boulevard, applicant Delay Masonry, owner Jonathan Abrams. At this hearing, interested persons may appear, be heard, and written communications will be received. Copies of the above application are on file for public inspection in the Planning and Community Development Office dated at Winchester, Connecticut, this 29th day of November 2021. George Clausen, Chairman. It was published in the Republican American on November 30th and December 6th, 2021. And for the record, I did receive the certificate of mail to the abutting properties owners, serving as evidence that the notice, the legal notice was provided. I believe there was a sign that was installed. Yep.
It was
Okay.
on the 23rd.
So, on the table tonight, were copies of a revised site plan prepared by Robert Green Associates. It was dropped off in the office today, so it didn't make it back on Friday. Zoning enforcement officer Michael Stankoff was able to give you a quick review for his comments. Copies of those comments have been provided to Attorney Curly Graham just prior to the meeting, but I do believe that they were emailed to the applicant sometime this afternoon.
Okay, George, I'm gonna recuse myself.
Yes, okay.
At this point, so you
Yes.
can seat someone.
Track of who was recently seated. Troy, do you want to sit on this one?
Sure.
We'll put Troy Lemire in as a seated member. Here's 42.
patio by the house, a retaining wall by the house, which will be actually a reconstruction of the wall, so there's no, ultimately, no grade change in that particular spot. There's a walkway leading from the roadway down, or the drive at the roadway leading down to that pervious pavers patio, and then a set of steps off to one side. It is my, and I put a note to this, that there's no significant grade changes on the property. So they're building a retaining wall that was, reconstructing a wall that was there, obviously the grade change stays the same. They are building a walkway that goes down to the patio that generally stays the same. Significant, I mean, large cuts and fills, we don't have that on this site. It's just an improvement of essentially what's there today. But ultimately, we are putting in pervious pavers as opposed to having a impervious surface. I can quickly go through Mr. Stankoff's letter that he wrote today. Item 1, he talks about no proposed grade change, and once again, I have a note to that I don't see any significant grade changes on this property. Some of those, there's two walls on there. There's a boulder wall, and then there's a block wall that it's by the patio. I can certainly provide heights, but they are not going to be, it's the same height that's there today. And even some of those, it gets a little bit, I can put a height, but based on what's out there today, he may drop it down. It really is going to have to kind of be as he goes during construction. Michael had a concern about, do we have any construction? There's no need to. All the materials are going to be brought in, not by, large machinery. We're going to be tracking in and out. They're going to be parked up in the driveway. We don't intend on tracking any material out, construction entrance is 50 feet long, large riprap stone. We don't see that we need one on this site. The material stockpile that I have indicated, what I meant by materials is not necessarily topsoil, because we are not stripping any topsoil. We are not, pulling any material back. We don't have any cuts or fills. So what I meant by that is maybe placement of the blocks for the walls itself, or for the patio itself. And that goes on basically with the comment 5 about the steel fence. There's no need to, I personally, no need to protect blocks. It's meant for topsoil and soil. And it is the intent that all of the disturbed areas on the site is to be, seeded in mulch. And I have a note that says that at this time we're not anticipating, and maybe this will be down the road, that we're going to plant new trees. It's not determined where yet, but as of right now, I want, once the construction is done, we want to stabilize the site. So we obviously have a seed mix and a mulching to establish on that, on the disturbed areas. And then Michael had a question about how much material, what types of material. Basically what we're doing is we're only bringing in 44 yards of crushed stone, and that's going to be for the patio. So we're going to pull the material out that's there, and then put this crushed stone. So it's anticipated that we're going to have about 44 yards of crushed stone brought in, but also 44 yards of material.
You have any details on the pervious? I don't see any details on the patio that you're gonna do.
We have details, they were not put on the plan, but if I recall, they were submitted. Here, you can speak to that, but they were submitted, I wanna say part of for the wetlands application.
Well, we need something submitted with this, so that's part of our file.
Well, that was submitted, everything that I submitted to the wetlands, I submitted to you at the first meeting. So there is a detail on there, a single drawing that Joe actually had done for me for an existing patio down the street. I don't know if you all have this one, but it's actually a cross-section of his seal on it, of what the patio
how the patio is gonna be built. How the base is gonna be built, that's all in there with my packet that I've initially put in.
All right.
So
Yeah, I don't have it with me.
it's just not on the bigger print, that's all. For
Yeah,
wetlands,
you have a copy of it?
I didn't need that.
I'll take it,
There you go. Okay. I have more copies.
I didn't see that in his original packet. Oh, yeah, there it is, there it is, there it is.
You do have it?
Yeah,
There were a couple of cross sections in there, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
You got it.
it's in there.
Okay, all right. So all the impact on, from your neighbor's access, going to get into their property, so how, that's just going with the existing grades and just being reseeded?
That was to the pole, I recall. Yes, yes, correct. That's gonna be reseeded.
All right,
was?
you've got the recorded responses with regards to Michael Statehouse questionnaire.
what's that?
You have the recorded, what he just gave us.
No, he just did it verbally. Is that what
Yeah, you got it with regards to your recording. So
yes,
that's part of the record.
minutes will capture, yeah.
Is anybody else in the, if that's your presentation,
Yeah,
that's,
unless you have any other additional questions.
commissioners?
Mr. Green, how do you, propose putting the block in the 44 tons of stone? How does that getting there?
Crushed stone?
Yeah, are you gonna have a machine and bring it from the top to the bottom?
Tractor, yeah, a small Kubota tractor.
Little Kubota tractor.
And I'll have a bobcat or, not a bobcat, I'll have a dump truck dump it off, and all the material I'll dig out and haul away with my dump truck.
And what do you
We don't
propose?
go in one bucket at a time, because I have compacted as I go anyway, so.
What do you propose for seed and hay?
There's a seed mix on that.
There is a seed mix on there?
We didn't have the benefit of looking at this until right now. so-
I know, I realize that. Where your snaky walkway is, your zigzag walkway? Yes. There's some lines under, is that the existing walk?
That's correct.
Okay. That was the existing asphalt walk. Okay. What, now that you've got your elevations on here, what did the actual percentage of slope on this property end up being?
If I had a scale, I could tell you, but just looking at the contours, you're probably, I mean, up by the road, it's probably around, in spots, maybe 10, 15%, and then down towards the lake, it's, maybe between 15 and 25, it depends upon where you are on the property.
Between 15 and what?
Between 15 and probably say, let's say 25% on this side where the stone steps are. The opposite side looks a little bit on the flatter side, it's, probably around 15% or so.
So most of this property is at 15%, except for where the stone steps are?
And then up by the road, it's probably a little bit flatter.
Okay.
So I'm reading your seed detail here, and it's saying fescue. Have you looked into winter rye because of the season? Just something to give it a little bit more stabilization?
Yeah, I'm taking his advice on it, so.
I mean, we have the silt fence.
I mean, you can't plant fescue.
No, I understand that. No, we have the silt fence up right now.
Right.
We have 3 rows, if I recall. We have one down by the
4
lake.
rows.
And then we have 2 sides, so we're trying to catch anything that goes down. Catch it. We don't want it to rush all the way down towards the lake. So I think for right now, we're probably not intending on doing anything in regards to seed. just because it is very
That
different
wasn't my
season.
intent, to do any plantings, leave the erosion controls
Well,
in place.
I understand that, but this time of year, with that type of slope, winter rye might stabilize the bank better. It would be advantageous for the lake and the.
Would that be actually bringing in topsoil and?
No, you just you take winter rye, throw it by hand, and it'll grow, and it grows in the winter. and it'll stabilize, but farmers use it for their
Right.
fields late in the year. And it does grow, it won't grow, you know, a beautiful lawn,
No,
but it'll help stabilize because, you know, it may help the lake. This time of year is bad, I mean, if we get the way things have been going, it's
Right.
60 degrees and everything turns to mush and it starts pouring.
Right.
You know, erosion control, you're gonna be out there 100 times in the winter changing that, so.
Exactly.
It'll give you a little bit of something,
Okay.
so.
Will?
I was just concerned about whether this lot would have actually 25%. And the only other question I have is, your material stockpile, you're saying it's gonna be rocks
It's gonna be the material that he uses
on
to
there,
build the wall.
so you wouldn't be against putting a silt fence around it when you're not there?
No, no offense, no, that's something I can do and I'm willing to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, whatever I dig out for this base, for the patio, or the walkway, is getting hauled away. There will be no loose subsoil anywhere on the property. I'm gonna get rid of it. And then the only material that's gonna come in is gonna go right into my hole for the base for my patio and my walkway. So, and then the only other thing I would stockpile that's already there is the pavers, which are already there, and the concrete steps, which are already there, and they're actually up by the room. So there won't be anything other than maybe some stone left over from rebuilding the stone wall that'll be stockpiled on the property, but again, I don't have a problem putting a silt fence around anything.
Okay. I mean, material stockpile to me it can end up being most anything.
Correct.
And that was my intent.
When you're done for the day, just, you know, if a silt fence was around it, in case it did rain or something, or you got shut down for the winter, then it was already there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Can somebody just, you know, I'm gonna keep using the new thing for a while, but where's the lower patio? Somebody just show me that?
The lower patio is underneath the built deck. You know, it's not
This?
visible, it's under a deck, under a roof.
Oh, so it's right at the
It's
very,
already a pervious
so it's
patio.
already, on this map, it's already, the thing closest to the lake.
Correct.
That little area
It's
that says
underneath the
covered
built-
porch?
Yeah, it does, says covered
Okay.
porch. There's an actual patio underneath that was bluestone.
Okay, but you're redoing that?
It's already redone. That was one thing that I was allowed to do.
Got it, okay.
Because it's a pervious, impervious surface,
Okay.
and it had to stay that way.
What is that?
Because it's already got a roof over it, it's already considered impervious.
Understood.
A lot of the stuff I had to do through wetlands was impervious or pervious, and that for lot coverages. And then I came to zoning, which is, again, so I can use the new thing, because I've never been to a zoning meeting before to rebuild stone walls and patios. This is completely new to me, so.
Well, this is important for this give and take, because some of the things, and this is off the subject for what you're doing here, but we're trying to make sure that everybody that comes through to get a permit to do something doesn't have to go through 3 commissions, if we can help it. So, but anyways, it's off the subject. Craig?
Yeah,
That's it.
I'm pretty well set. I mean, it's shown.
Back when we were here before, we talked about the height of the walls and the elevation. I do see the heights, but I don't see the elevations, and I see it mentioned here again in Michael Stankov's letter that we do have the height of the wall, but we don't have the elevations which should be included. The other question I had was, we talked about the material that's coming in. Is there any significant amount of material that's gonna be taken out?
Yeah, 44 yards of subsoil.
It's the equal changeover from what
Correct,
you're
I have
talking
to
about.
change the subsoil underneath the patio and walkway into a crushed stone base to make it a pervious, or pervious
Pervious, yeah.
walkway and patio. And basically, I'm exchanging one material for the other.
One that drains, one that doesn't.
Exactly.
That's all I have.
I'm trying to remember if the last time they were here, was there some issue about clear cutting, and is that resolved by all this? That has to do with whether or not there's a certain degree of steepness, slope or something?
If you approve it tonight, that will resolve that.
Okay, so,
Some of this took place already,
yes,
because the access to the neighbors, if I understand the discussion last time, these folks gave the neighbor access so they could get access with a machine to improve their property. So that has to be restabilized.
There was no violation order issued, but.
Gotcha, okay,
because they-
okay.
Okay. All right. Felix?
I have no questions. Everything was addressed, I think.
Okay, any other comments that you,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I might, again, early runs for the record. I will leave with you now the list of exhibits for Mr. Jonathan Abrams in PC 2111, and then that is dated 11/22/2022. Application number 1 and number 1A is a full-size wetlands application, and number 2 is the approval by the Wetlands Commission, and number 3 is the plans that were submitted to the Wetlands Commission for work, and number 4 is Mr. Bill's proposal related October 8th, 2021, and letter, and then delayed sequence of events. These were all shared with you when we were here the last time. I don't think they're still in the file now, perhaps we could put them in the file. And then an application for building permit was issued, and another application for an electrical permit. The work is going on such as it can inside the house, and we would like to continue to do that. I do note that on my list, number 8 is not there, but number 8 was a approval of an inspection of the propane tank installation, and you should have that in your prior file. I think I gave it to you the last time I was here. So I've given you all the background information. We're asking you this evening, my client is asking what is the second matter on the agenda under old business, and I said I believe that's where they might make a decision on your matter. And so we would ask, and we appreciate your suggestion that we come back. We're a little concerned that it took so long to get here and what happened before, but we could just get this move on, and as you say, cooperate with you, since we ask that you cooperate with us, and tonight, grant the application so that we can move on, and if we get some more of this good weather, maybe we can do some of the basic work in terms of the base that needs to be put down, and get my clients into the property which they thought they would be able to get into by now. Thank you very much.
okay, thank you.
Please approve it.
Perfect.
I'm looking at the minutes from last time, that's why I brought that up. That's been addressed? Were underlined? That's all taken.
That's
Just-
part of our regulations, it calls for a
Yes,
special permit
right.
with that wording, so that's.
So that got that's being addressed, okay, sorry. I was
All
gonna
right.
say-
So if we don't have any other comments, then motion to close the
You
public.
just want to open it up for public comment?
Yes, yes. Any,
Hearing none.
Really?
yes, no, you're right.
I didn't know who was sitting behind me,
Yeah.
but there was public here that had interest.
No, yeah, my apology. There's nobody else here. So with that in mind, make a motion, Craig, to close the public
I'll
hearing.
second it.
Second from Troy. Any discussion? The seated members, all in favor? Okay, thank you. All right. So number 6, old business, PZC 21-11, commission-initiated changes to zones. Location, various properties located at 201 East Lake Street, 203 East Lake Street, 208 East Lake Street, 216 East Lake Street, and 220 East Lake Street.
I'd like to make a motion to extend this, how do you put that? Continue this to another date.
Okay, we have a second for the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, let's have some discussion then. Discussion on the motion?
But, I'm sorry, just point of order. Troy was seated for the second public hearing, but not.
Oh,
The
right.
first,
Yeah,
right.
Can't do that on that?
Well, let's get Peter back in.
Get Peter back in here.
Please.
Peter? Sorry about that, jumped the gun.
Yeah, he missed the whole second
Yeah,
hearing.
you're right. Thank you. clear. It's so complicated with all the.
Yeah, in a second.
Peter, you're back on.
Yes, I am.
We're
Thank
on
you.
6A.
Yep.
And so I just read what the issue is, and so we need a motion to either do something with it, or so we don't have enough information to continue it, or what's your pleasure?
I think we should give further consideration to that zone change,
Well, I think,
because of the implication,
I
the
think
legal.
as far as the 5 properties listed, I think we should leave them as they are, but we need to investigate further and look at zone changes for other pieces of property in that area that are operating as businesses and have been historically, and change those to the business district. And we also need to look at what's allowed under special permits, and maybe adding some businesses under the special permitting process.
Well, I think I think that's a good point, but with regards to the application, I don't think, from my standpoint, we're gonna get any more information that we need to consider with a continuation of the public hearing.
Right, no, I agree. Nope.
So my opinion is we should act on it.
Yes.
And not continue it, just to have it continued. So if we have a draft motion on this, don't we, Pam?
Yeah.
We've got one already.
Yep.
And you wanna just keep in mind that in terms of continuing the application, it required a public hearing, the public hearing is closed.
Right.
You're not able to obtain any new information outside of the public hearing except for any kind of legal question you might have from the county attorney.
On this one topic.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes. So we have a draft motion with regards to this, and we should make an affirmative motion and then vote on that. So, somebody wanna I'll make the motion. December 13th, 2021, the Planning and Zoning Commission, I make a motion to approve the proposed zone changes with an effective date of December 15th, 2021, noting that they are in compliance with the Plan of Conservation and Development. Do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
Second.
For discussion.
By Peter. Okay, we'll open it up for discussion.
Can I just ask one clarification?
Well-
That 220 doesn't include that
Well,
parcel?
you're not seated.
Oh, I can't talk?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
That's over.
Would you just clarify that for the record, please? Sorry.
The property that we're discussing is the property in orange on that sheet that we have. So there's property 220 East Lake, 260, but it's the shoreline property. It's not across the street from the water.
Yeah.
So it's only the property that's shown in orange, and we'll attach that copy that was given to us in the package. So,
Thank you.
okay, so we got a motion to approve it as written, and we've got a second. So let's open it up for discussion.
Yeah, I was against it totally, so.
Okay,
I'm against it.
okay,
I'm against it.
okay, okay. All right, so we've had enough discussion. Let's take a vote. All in favor of the motion, which is a positive, which means that the zone change would, it would go back to what we had originally thought we had, and it would not stay the way it's drawn. So all in favor of that, raise your hand. All opposed to it, raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous that the motion fails. So the property stays in the zone that it's been shown.
Do you understand that?
Yeah. For all of us, it's the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's
Karen?
no, it's an important thing to do affirmative motions because of the complications if there's an appeal and so forth. So if we voted in favor of it, that would be our motion to change the zone to what that was what was advertised. Because it was denied, that means the whole thing of changing the zone is over, done. So it stays in the zone it is, but the entire discussion tonight certainly opened up more, there's gonna be future discussion by the commission, and we'll let you know when we have these kinds of discussions, if we have a planning meeting, so that, we can hopefully work it out so that we stay productive and growing. Because there's a lot of issues, why we did, and there are a lot of issues that we heard tonight that were very valid. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, at least we don't have a snowstorm that can come out of it.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
You start on your next one.
Come over to the lakeside.
Okay, Peter has now left the room. Troy, you're seated for the discussion on the second, which is the PZC 21-12, location 632 East Wakefield Boulevard, applicant Goulet Masonry, owner Jonathan Abrams. Proposal, clear cutting of trees and development of existing slope over 15% or over 25%. Do we have a motion? The seated members again, Troy, Willie, Craig, and John, and myself.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit for 632 East Wakefield Boulevard, with a caveat that staff must be notified if there's any additional plantings, and they also need to monitor the sediment and erosion control.
Okay.
Silt fence around the,
And silt fence around the back.
Until it's stabilized.
Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
All right. Troy, do you want to pen in what you just said so that we've got the wording as you described it?
You want me to say it again?
No.
Oh,
Put
pen
it in
here.
writing, because we're
Oh,
going to sign
okay.
this thing.
Okay, yes, I can do that.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion that Troy made and was seconded? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Okay, so if you can write that in, Troy, sign it, and who seconded it? Willie? Okay, so let's send it around for a signature, please.
You're the only one with it, George, because I didn't have a motion.
Okay, so I'm the only one with it. Okay. Send it over to Troy, and you can put your writing in there, please.
Just cross out what's there, because that's part of your motion.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, you had pre-made one? I didn't get that. Okay, let me get that. Let's see, so,
You got stockpile fence around the stockpile.
we'll bring it there.
Well, the plan was incorporated in the presentation, so it'll be part of the file.
Maybe if I could just understand, I think you said two caveats. One was planting, I think.
It's the maintenance of the soil erosion control,
And second, for the maintenance of the soil.
and also if there's additional plantings submitted, so there are three things. 'Cause they're-
Soil control.
Silt fencing.
Yeah, and silt fence around stuff.
Silt fence and stuff. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Take care. Have a nice Christmas. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. You said winter ride, right?
winter ride. Yep, you can go Agway. Yep, works good. Just throw it by hand, it's a big seed.
Huge.
Throw it right down.
Big
in.
seed, right?
Yep, grows.
Don't have to water it.
No, no, takes care of itself.
I put hay on top of it.
Hey? So would you recommend something that doesn't blow around? Like a roll, something I would get at Target? Because if I throw hay in it,
It's gonna be gone.
it's gonna be gone.
It'll be in the
especially
lake,
up there.
yeah.
So, again, so that would just be another measure to, because I'd have to staple that down anyway. So that's another sedimentation,
I just,
it's an
when
erosion control.
when I did it, I just threw the winter rye down.
Yep.
And it comes up.
Yeah.
And it just grows by itself. And it's not gonna be perfect, but it'll stay.
No, I realize.
You gotta get some root system to hold
Okay,
That's cheap.
thank you. Good night.
Good seeing you, Pearlie. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that additional plantings were monitored, that's all. We don't need a meeting for that, but they can, Michael can go out there and check that out.
Okay,
Peter, that thing.
yeah, Peter's back on. Okay, let's see, number 7, PZC 21-09, special permit location, Rocky Ridge Drive, applicant owner Wayne Cuswick. What's the status of that? We don't, we haven't had any further information from them.
No, I sent an email to Mr., to the Cousins, just outlining the timetable. They have, the public hearing was deemed to be open by that first January meeting to meet, the statutory requirements for public hearing being open on a 60 days.
Okay.
And I haven't heard back.
All right.
So,
Well, there, I noticed, this is, appreciate you following up on that. Okay. So we'll, let that carry on for the next, next meeting. The minutes from, November 22nd are here for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, great. Any comments, with regards to the, minutes? All in favor? Felix, you were, absent excused, so you should abstain.
We all vote on the minutes?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I get the hang of it
Yeah,
eventually.
It takes a while.
Makes you feel like
Can
a
use
part,
being you all the
part of the group.
I was there.
Right.
These are the
Let's
biggies,
see
you
how
know?
long it
I've done the same things
All
over
right.
and over again.
We put you on notice.
Communications.
I included one from the,
Oh, yeah, yep,
health and, community health
okay,
center.
yep. Unfortunate, but we're,
Yep.
that whole, big part of that whole process was during COVID, where nothing was happening with anything, but it is what it is, that's what we
I
do.
got a question about this. Why did we have to give them 2 years to come up
We
with a
didn't have
record?
to, it was just
Stipulated settlement.
little, yeah, it was a settlement, because originally what we do, we denied it and they sued us.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And that was one of the conditions we put in there.
Unfortunately, they haven't been able to fulfill that, so.
No, and things are changing on Main Street, so that's beneficial. They did it.
There was activity in there today.
Was it?
Pardon me?
There was activity in there
Oh, was
today.
there?
There was lights on.
EDC is talking about, murals on the windows there, like,
Nice.
Good,
so
make it look
they're in
better.
conversations with
Be good.
them.
Looks terrible.
Well, that's the problem, you know, you go to a lot of the shopping malls that are really well managed. They have a vacant property, they always will have an attractive window to display, so it's a good idea.
They're looking to partner with them, so that might be a positive thing.
Oh, good,
until
good.
the space is filled out.
Any, the staff report?
Staff report, yeah, 2 things I guess I'll share. One is that we have an application, for, some significant improvements made to, that will be coming in to Brian O'Haron's former home. One was, and the boathouse that he added on a second floor in about 2005 or so, around there. He has a design team, the new owners have a design team that may very well bring before this commission a text change to our steep slope regulation, which would probably be welcome, because I think there's some, vagueness with interpretation that we can fine tune that and will allow them relief from needing a variance for what they have planned, for their vision for their waterfront. So we'll see what that, we'll work with them and hopefully something that the commission finds as a good move discussion going on, so, we'll see how that works out, and there, you know, whether or not, you'll recall that there was a condition in the 2018 approval where minor site plan changes could be approved administratively by the town planner. Our zoning regs without a town planner defer to the town manager for that, but again, if it's significant by Michael's, you know, he's not inclined to recommend that the town manager undertake any site plan changes. So we're kind of trying to work out what would be no changes with the site plan and just allow him to sign off, Michael as the CEO, to move on with the rest of the build out.
Just a question on some of this enforcement. We brought up that big floodlight at Little Red Barn that's
It's out by the bridge that blinds you when you drive down
blinds you
Lake Street.
coming down the Lake Street.
So Michael had to go out on a Thursday night, and he seemed to think that it was a light coming in from inside the building, and I said, no.
No.
I said, there's a light
Right.
outside of the
Yeah.
building.
It's on a pole right next to the bridge. As soon as
Right.
you go over the bridge for the Mad River, it's right on that pole.
I would presume it's an Eversource fixture, but that doesn't get, just because it's Eversource, doesn't get waived with the shielding part of it.
And again, these minutes will reflect that same sentiment.
Pardon me?
These minutes will reflect that same
Oh, okay,
sentiment,
all right.
and, you know, it hasn't gone unnoticed that there's a light that is too bright, it's not full cutoff, it doesn't comply with our zoning regs.
How about the piece that I brought last March about parking in the front yard?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Parking in the front yard that I
On
brought
Woodland,
you.
there's a report, that's been provided to you on all of the current work going on with zoning.
When, today?
Yep. It was laying on your desk.
You mean just him?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I didn't see it, so.
So.
I look at everything.
A violation was issued, and, what he just hasn't done is issued any fine.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is our, the map you were. Just on the, I didn't unpack. I see the marijuana, I don't see the,
No, it was emailed to you, right?
No, well, he'll send it out
Yeah.
through email.
oh, all right, because I don't see it in this,
Yeah,
any of this
no,
package.
he gave me a comprehensive report.
Okay, okay. Would you send it to everybody? Because
Yep.
I haven't seen it.
Yep.
Okay,
Do we have to?
pardon me?
Do we have to?
After what?
On
See
in
it?
my staff report, I guess
Oh.
I would share with you that I did get inquiry for a potential, retail, marijuana for, on the, Torrington Road in the industrial town gateway zone. There is a, interest that is Bill Conti is the attorney representing, this potential developer looking to put in one on Torrington Road. And I said, well, why don't you wait and let's see, because, you know, rather than an applicant initiated zone change, text change, it may be the commission that is going to undertake a text change to add this. He didn't know that you'd already begun that work.
So what's his, they want to do this ASAP?
Well, it's.
Well, it's not going into effect for
Yeah,
a
it's
while.
not taking effect right now. They're trying to
Oh.
line up their ducks.
Right.
They're not even approving any applicants right
No,
now yet.
no, and there's a substantial deposit that has to be put down, I think, it's non-refundable.
Fee to
like
apply to the
Yeah,
state.
50 grand, I think it is.
30.
30.
Oh, it's 30 now?
30 grand? Wow.
It's 50 when I tried it.
This is the whole issue of this cannabis, it's a generation of income.
All revenue.
Yep, it's all revenue.
As it should be,
We'll get 100 applicants and approve 12.
yeah.
But I'm just saying that's, so we're kind of like, we've been ahead of the game, we've been talking about this, we haven't really finalized it, but Pam has drafted what we've talked about so far, and I think one of the issues we talked talked about the hours of operation. The other thing we talked about is the potential distance between the lower educational facilities. And Will, you brought it up, should it be door to door or property line to property line? Now, these drawings you provided to us, Pam,
Are there already certain locations been proposed for this?
Well,
Or this is just hypothetical?
Hypothetical, get an
well,
idea of
we talked about the zones that they could be put into. So where do we have that on here? I forget what we had. And that draft that I had sent to everybody, I had put in Gateway and the Town Center. I think those were the two things. So that's what we've been discussing.
I think there's 3.
The other one would have been industrial. Right?
No. Really?
Yeah.
Industrial?
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
discussed the issue.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand, but-
If it's not appropriate, then let's figure it out.
Town Gateway
Yeah.
and Town Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did PI, I think, before with the medical marijuana.
Yeah,
That was that.
right.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why it's in the discussion.
Big question we've got to answer is distance from the schools.
Yeah.
K through 12 schools.
Is it a requirement, or this is something that we
Well,
decide?
under this, what Pam had put in was 200 feet under item 5 on the first page. And we had talked about at the last meeting, did we go 1,000 feet? Did we go 1,500 feet? And there was a lot of discussion,
Well, that's why we,
did we go by map or by property line
yeah,
or?
Will
Building
the
to
state, will
building.
the state have any say in these kinds of things? No.
No, they leave it on
Okay.
us, I think, from anything I've
Okay.
seen.
All right.
Only when it comes down to revenue, then they have something to say.
Yeah, right.
They don't care about this
They'll
part.
give us 3%. They'll let us keep 3%.
Oh,
Yeah.
we'll take 3%, give them the rest.
That's right. That's right.
Instead of a lot is a lot.
So what if these sheets, I'm trying to figure out what's where here. On this,
553 is door to door this is rough.
That looks like 10 Bridge Street to the Bank of America building.
Yeah, it seemed that, yeah.
That one looks like.
So is it parcel to parcel boundary, and again, you see how close it is, and, the GIS isn't
yeah.
precise. I mean, the measurement is, but the boundary lines aren't. But there's a difference of, 120 feet if you're going from door to door or site to site.
Yeah, you go 553 or 433, so a difference of 120 feet.
And again, site to site is gonna be less accurate, because we
Right.
don't know precisely the boundary lines.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'd have to go door to door.
Door to door would be.
Definitely. And it gives them a little bit bigger area, but it's easier
But
to measure.
the other thing too, when we were talking about how if you have off-site remote parking, it wasn't as the crow flew, it was how you could get there, so. So you gotta be careful about what is it a travel distance or is it a straight line or? But, so you're using the Bank of America building as a reference? Or are you just talking about that's a
I
guide?
did,
Yeah.
because that seemed to be the direction of the conversation.
So the places we're talking about being distant from is just the lower, up through grade 12, and the daycares and stuff like that, right?
Right.
You have to use the daycare, you got Lake Street and Prospect Street, yeah.
Right, so we would have to change the text to include that.
Yeah.
It didn't include community college, having it capped at grade 12, but did you want to consider daycares and preschool?
Well, I think if we're doing it with the elementary school, I think
I think we should add the daycare and preschool into that.
Yeah, but then somebody can open preschool or
Somewhere else.
daycare.
Yeah, that's true.
Afterwards.
But that would be,
I think you should
when
do
we do
just
the
the
laws, it'd
public,
be the existing
public
schools,
schools.
not any school
Yeah.
that gets put in the future.
Existing, at the
Existing
time
schools.
these
We can do that.
regulations.
Yeah, because that was like
As of the
putting
day,
something
yeah.
in quicksand. I mean, they're gonna change all over the place.
Yes,
if you-
exactly.
If you don't have some stability in what you're talking about.
But existing as of now, or existing as of
As of when we,
date of adoption of the
Yeah.
reg?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have it on 32 Lake Street, I mean.
Yeah, you could put the addresses that are currently there, because you're gonna, hit, you know, Hinsdale's gonna be opening, it's not open now. Right? All right, so we talking about 200 feet, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, what's the thought?
I think we gotta go more than 200. 200 is way too close in my opinion, but we just gotta come on agreement on what we want.
What is the purpose of the distance, I guess? Because you can't go in the facility unless you put your credentials in and you have to be certain age
You don't wanna mix, you know,
or miss different zoning. I'm just trying to
mix, you know,
understand.
the kids going to school, mom, why?
Well, you've got kids walking to school, things like that, number one, and then you've got traffic with the facility, and the other thing, so.
Well, we're talking, we're talking a special permit for this stuff, aren't we? So those are considerations, but we have to have some grounds for making the determination and the
Well,
decision.
I don't know, I
Wasn't
think,
it was 500 for medical, was that they already did this for medical, correct?
yeah.
Well, that's in our existing.
Just so you get it, that if it's door to door, it's less restrictive than site to site.
Right, right.
But Felix's point is a good one, which is you can't even walk in the door unless you have a license and,
True.
You can't window shop, you can't do
yeah,
anything.
you can't go and browse, or you can't
And
get
there is
in there.
no, consumption, if you will, of the
Right, You
product.
can't even, you can't consume anything anyway, no
Yeah.
matter what your
Yeah.
credentials.
Well, I know, just my own observation, because when this was coming up, I went up to Great Barrington to look around, and I was surprised to see one right there on Main Street, which is a beautiful Main Street.
There's a couple,
You wouldn't even, unless you really scrutinize it, you wouldn't even know it was there.
If it wasn't
two or
for the
three on
sign, you
Main Street
wouldn't
now,
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've opened up more, I was through there Sunday.
so do we need that?
Well, exactly, do we need that?
Just say follow the existing regulations, then there is no questions, whatever the medical requires.
Let's look
does
at-
that hinder us from a lot of locations? That's my concern.
It's what?
Does it hinder us from a lot of locations? That's
Well,
my
that's,
concern.
when you're talking, that's why I asked Pam to do something with it. If we're talking
Right.
about distances,
It does.
we've really gotta look closely at that, because you could, remove the possibility of a number of locations. I mean,
Right.
Especially if we're talking town center, which is not a big expanse.
So does there need to be a distance at all?
Well, I just said that, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't think there does. I think it's something that we can put in there ourselves as we go along.
Well, you gotta be able to have something, in my estimation, so that an applicant knows what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can be very arbitrary, and we don't like the.
Could we put, it will go into one of those categories in the permitted uses thing, won't it? Or,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it can't be in a residential area, it gotta be in a retail
Well,
or commercial or town
but-
center or.
No, that's what I said, we're suggesting, or at least I put it in the thing, because I took the Great Barrington regulations and just kind of.
Right, I know that, yeah.
And then took our medical
Yeah.
marijuana and really shaped it better.
Okay.
And, so really the point though is, do we need a distance?
I'd say no,
I say no too.
I thought it was a requirement, that's why,
yes.
but there was no requirement.
I mean, we've got the 200 feet in the medical marijuana, you wanna make it the same?
Then we'd be consistent.
That's the
But
easiest
door to
thing.
door, I would say, would be the way to measure it.
Yeah, and put their distance door to door, change it from 500 feet to 200 for both.
Well, at least it'd be
This is
consistent.
earlier, this is
But
what.
at least we've got something to enforce it,
Yeah,
act
oh,
on,
Mom finally agreed with Johnny to
look at when we do
a
the
month,
special
2 months
permit.
ago.
High school.
would or would not?
Would not.
But what would be the difference if it was a convenience store there?
That's just
than-
my personal
Or
feeling.
liquor store?
That doesn't,
What's the high school?
she goes to Northwestern?
There's nowhere up there they could do that, right?
No, I'm just saying.
No, we're
hypothetically-
talking about distance-wise
Just
from
talking
the
Yeah.
facility.
Hypothetical distance-wise.
Because there's gateway property, you know, at the zone that's out there.
How far is the Henny Penny from Northwestern?
No, we're not talking Northwestern, because we're talking kindergarten through 12th grade,
Oh, that's right.
not talking
High
college.
school.
But you're close to regional.
No, Northwestern.
Regional.
No, he's talking about regional.
That's what I'm talking about, Northwest.
Yeah,
You've
that's
got
what I'm
at least,
talking about,
you've
yeah.
got at least 200 feet from regional, so.
But the Kentucky Fried Chicken was under consideration, and that's
Right, it was.
practically
That
across
actually
the street
would have
from,
fit the bill.
But if it's
Regional?
200 feet, then you've got more than 200 feet.
Right. Because they're way up on that hill.
Isn't there business sometime?
The way the crow flies though, if you go in a
There's
straight
business
line, how
there
far
now,
is
which is
that?
like-
That's
Well, yeah,
what I wanna know.
it's off the table as far as this, you know, potential.
Yeah, it's gotta be at least
But I
that.
think that
1,000 plus
property would have been
feet to get
perfect
to
to
the
approve,
entrance of
because
the
it's
Well, that, we
completely
thought
off.
marijuana was gonna be going in there too, because it's isolated,
Right.
it
Maybe
could be
downhill.
secured, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Down
so
the
we-
hill, it's 1,000 feet, if you go straight out, it's 500.
So you wanna use the 200 and eliminate the 500,
200
that's-
door to door.
door to door?
That's my opinion, use
Okay.
door to door. Give them the extra distance.
And we said, we changed the hours here too, we were talking about.
Yeah,
Yep,
I have
that's already
I have a
changed.
thought about that.
Yes.
After talking to some people. And the first comment was, when I said 9 o'clock, they're like, what are you trying to make sure nobody comes into Winston? It's a recreational thing now. It's like closing a bar at 8 o'clock.
Right.
It's like
That's a good point.
9 o'clock.
That's a
I
good
mean, you're gonna ensure that nobody's gonna stop in Winston.
No, that's a good, I mean, that's.
I mean,
And the package stores are open till what, 8, 9, so let
Yeah.
them be open.
the bars are open till,
Or I mean, the bars are open
yeah, till
till 1
1
o'clock.
o'clock.
Well, and to
So-
what Felix is saying too, I mean, what my observation too is, that you don't get into these places unless you got ID and you go through
Yeah.
the locked
But
doors.
your point is that you can't partake inside?
No,
You have to take it off the premises?
You can't even do, you
Yeah.
can't even do edible, can't taste,
Yeah.
can't do
so
anything.
you,
But
so you
still,
can't,
you want
can't
the-
sample the product,
Got
that's
it.
what's going on.
Okay.
Even on the property.
Let me try one of these.
But you still wanna make
Right.
the retail availability of it.
That's good.
I mean, otherwise people just drive over to Great Barrington or to the next town that's open till 11.
George,
Well,
when you went there, what
Sheffield
was the
is only open
hours
till
of
8
operations
o'clock.
there?
I'm sorry?
What was the hours of
I was gonna ask
operations?
It went,
Yeah,
that,
the one-
I think I put it in there, it was till 11
Sheffield,
o'clock.
Yeah, they were
Sheffield's
to
is like
11.
Standing room
Yeah.
only, there's a line
It
in
was
that
till 11,
place all
8
the
AM
time.
to 11
Yeah.
PM.
Not
All
bad
the
on
time.
Sunday.
But what, Willie?
Not on Sunday, though. I was by
I've
there
I've sat there
every
and
Sunday.
watched it.
Really? When I was driving truck, when that opened up, there was people standing in the parking lot all the
When they
time.
first opened up, yeah. but now
Because
there's
it's
so
put
many
hours of
open.
operations can be the earliest from
Barrington's
here,
got
the
4 or
latest
5.
from there, and whatever they
Yeah, they can do
decide.
whatever they
Winfield's
want.
got
Yeah.
at least as.
This way you just
That's
give them
true,
the
yeah.
window of
Up on the
whatever
cave.
they wanna do.
They're giving those
What was
100
Willie was saying,
cars
so
a day.
the one in
That's it.
Sheffield closes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made the latest ones go through big, huge parking
I
lots
have
and
a
all
hard
that
time
stuff.
talking.
And it took a year to get the DOT permissions,
I can't see
and
what
it turns out it's
They don't even need it. They don't have it.
How long are we gonna be in masks? That's the question.
Yeah, I know, well.
I think that's more
All
concerning.
right, so what's the consensus on the hours? Anything at all?
I think 8 to 9 is fine. Sheffield is 8 o'clock. I got their regulations here, and they're open from 8 to 8.
You didn't notice what they were in Great Barrington?
It was 8 to 11.
They were 11,
Yeah.
I think 8 to 9 is plenty.
I think 8 to 9 is fine.
That gives them 11 hours.
Yeah.
You can't smoke it there anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Actually, 9, yeah.
Somebody wants to buy it,
First,
they will
you
do
know
it before
what?
9 o'clock.
If somebody comes in and they, you know, if this is not realistic, because somebody's gonna have a business plan on how they're gonna operate, you know, that's what we're here for. We can, listen to input and justification and,
We can change it.
yeah.
But at least we've got something to start with, which
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot of towns don't.
Well, a lot of towns are just closing them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not gonna have it at all.
Yeah.
This is why it took 2 years for Massachusetts to open their first recreational dispensary.
Is that right?
Yeah, 2 years it took.
There, I've been reading in the paper, a lot of towns are putting ordinances that you
Yep.
can't even smoke it,
Yep.
like downtown at all, near any restaurant or
Yeah.
business or anything.
No, and you never do. We go up there a lot, I've never seen anybody.
No, it's not being.
No, you can't consume it in public.
All right, so is there anything else in this draft?
Yes.
Yes,
Number 4,
yes.
we talk about no retail in a building or structure or portion of that has residential purposes. Now, what if you were to come in, apply for a permit, but you closed off all the residential rentals above it? Now, then we're eliminating rentals
Yeah.
on town. So, is this, I think that needs to be changed a little bit to make sure that you can't eliminate the rentals over top. You could buy the property, cancel out the rentals, and just have your retail on the
Could
bottom.
lose a lot of affordable housing.
Yeah, no kidding,
That way.
it's not.
And what would cause any detriment to a residential housing above one of these?
It will, because, I mean, it's gonna be tough to park, it's gonna be tough to
I mean,
go
you
to
live
your
there
place.
If it's on Main Street,
It's
it's
on
tough to
Main
park anyway.
Yeah,
No, I'm saying if you live in a multifamily property, like mixed-use multifamily, I think it would be detriment to people upstairs.
but all the whole Main Street is multifamily mixed use.
Right.
And
Well,
you say that-
No, there's a
yeah.
lot of properties on Main Street that don't have buildings, something over top. There's quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at, like, we had,
I don't
you
understand.
could go down North Main Street, and you got multi-family houses there, they could open up one on North Main Street, say.
Right, but Main Street is not a long street. I mean, how many dispensaries you're gonna put? Maybe 2?
Well, right
Most
now,
likely
the way
one.
they're talking about it, we're gonna get one.
One, so.
But as soon as they see a revenue stream, you're probably gonna have
Right,
one in every
I'm
corner.
thinking 2.
Yeah.
on Main Street.
And that's a lot.
Right, so.
But by the same token, if you had a sales, retail sales in one building and it doesn't have any tenants, downtown, you could have a multi-tenant building right next door. So, I mean, you're not separating them.
Right.
So, I mean, and you've got
Makes no
security as
sense.
far as access and so forth, so I don't know.
There's
whether-
security in the building.
Yeah. This isn't, like going into a convenience store. So do we need, the question that Willie brought up is,
I just don't want us to hinder a lot of locations that could be used right now.
I think there's plenty of locations. I mean,
Oh, there's a million. There's
yeah,
lots of them.
you've got the Morsel Monk building, it's got parking. You've got,
What used to be, what was that place right across from it, that restaurant, wasn't that a Kentucky Fried
Next to
Chicken at
Nolly's.
one time too?
And that's opening a restaurant though.
Oh, they are
Yeah.
putting
But next to
something in
Nolly's,
there? 'Cause
that's
been
big
a-
downstairs and-
Doing chicken, right?
But you got next to the gas man, between gas man and Nolly's, the first floor that they wanted
Oh,
to
yeah,
start
you're right,
residential,
the
but
Nolly Rays,
that they
yeah.
never came
What's the
back, 'cause they don't
diner
have
guys
parking.
doing, the restaurant?
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but
there.
there's a parking issue there.
Right, but
Has open A restaurant.
Well, he ready, it's
go on
already
Main
open?
Street, then,
Here
you
it is.
got,
Oh, okay.
What's that restaurant? Wasn't it, was that Kentucky Fried Chicken too,
yeah, it was,
at one time?
Same lady.
Oh, yeah.
it's had a lot of different lives.
no, Main Street, you got about half a dozen to a dozen.
All right, I don't wanna it's 9:30, so I don't wanna be here all night long, we have brought season tax. So do you wanna continue this for the further discussion, or, I mean, at some point, we're gonna have to, what they say is,
oh, this is,
Chair will get off the phone. Just try to call it how it is.
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, we gotta draft it, and we gotta have a public
They're
hearing,
having
it's
a
like
public hearing,
everything.
so.
I got the regulations out of Sheffield,
Yes,
and one of the things that I've been concerned about is odor.
okay.
And Sheffield has a thing where all marijuana establishments shall be vented in such a manner so that no odor from marijuana or its processing can be detected by a person with an unimpaired or otherwise normal sense of smell in the exterior of the building. And I think that's something,
Yeah, that's something that's.
Do they
Yeah, but you're
allow,
talking about processing center versus just a
yeah, they
retail
will allow
sales.
you to even
That's a
light
different,
it
that's,
up in that.
I believe it's different license. That's
Yeah,
completely
that's a
different license.
You can't
no,
like,
they can do some stuff in the building.
it's,
No, they can't
if
grow it
it's
in there,
sales, they
retail,
can't
I
even
don't
package it there, I don't believe.
No, they can't light it, they can't try it, they can't grow it, they can't, and I think Felix, they can't even package it there.
It would be the growing
This is
facilities.
this is retail cannabis, they get their stuff packaged
Well,
somewhere
part
else.
of, okay. Is that referring to growing facilities or dispensaries? If we were just doing retail, but like number 9 down here talks about, growing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need to work on growing too,
Right.
because over.
And you
And
see
then-
my question marks there, because, you know,
Right.
that's how it was presented in
Right,
George's
right.
draft, but I don't know that that's.
I mean, if we
what
just
they
wanna
intend.
do retail, which I think what we should do,
Then take
Yeah.
nine
just do
out.
retail,
Take that
tackle
out.
that.
Exactly.
And then tackle,
Growing,
Right.
and
Growing.
growing and processing.
yeah.
That's completely different.
So are you
thing.
suggesting 9 should be omitted, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
It should be just strictly a retail
Take it
establishment.
right
And
out.
when you
Because
get
I
a
think we'll
growing
have to do a
facility,
separate
it's-
reg
I
for
mean, if somebody will
growing and
propose
processing
something really
of marijuana.
well
So then we would say that
structured,
in the
maybe,
retail,
somewhere on the.
Sales, retail
Sales,
sales only.
no
growing's gonna
processing.
be way out, cause
Right.
the
Right.
facility's gotta be large. You know, they need the square footage to
I think,
make it worth their while, so.
22,000 square feet, just a little over 2,500.
But you are gonna get a smell with the retail too, cause
Yeah.
it smells it by itself. So there is a smell, so maybe that's why they put it in there.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like growing it, where it's wide open, it's sealed in a container, but there's still a smell that
Do
comes
you,
off.
do you want that added as
I
the?
think we should,
Try
I
it.
think
I
we're
think it should
gonna,
be.
I've been to Denver, and in Denver, I don't know if you guys been to Denver downtown.
I never been.
Downtown Denver is literally
Wow.
12 blocks, maybe 14 blocks. There are probably 15 dispensaries. No joke. And it does not smell, unless somebody actually smokes outside, there is no smell coming from anywhere. So I don't
but
think.
do they have a ventilation system and
I'm
stack?
I'm
system?
sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So
But
add
you,
that.
but you put it in there with regards to,
Yeah,
if
I would
that's
have.
an obligation that they.
Right,
have to
maybe
make
they should
sure.
be part of the
I think we need
application, part of the
Something to
proposal.
control possible.
I think you should, just because of where we're allowing it, we're allowing
You
it
don't wanna have
downtown
a
and everything else, and you got
everybody yelling
buildings
at
close
us.
together, you got residences above.
Yep.
Cause I could see it coming back to bite us, that there's gonna be a smell, an odor problem later.
Just think growing up as a kid, the soup factory, the carotene factory, that was marijuana.
That was fine.
So we're gonna scratch 9.
That's why you never ate soup.
Add the thing about the,
Language that he had read, okay.
Yeah, maybe you can give that to Pam so she can add that language. No.
anything else on that list? Well, we're restricting it to retail sales.
Retail sales.
Not the growing.
You may wanna put sales in there.
And then you'll have another, at your, December 27th meeting, we'll have another edit, and then if you're ready with that,
Then we
we'll
can
send it
talk
out.
about a public hearing.
And where it says retail,
I'm not gonna
sales.
be-
This is Sheffield.
You just wanna send it, you just
another
wanna
one somebody
schedule a
wants
public hearing at December 27th, you probably
No,
wanna
no,
leave
no,
it
no,
for review
no.
before you.
Yeah,
Right.
let's bring it.
No, we're gonna wanna review it again at least
Get
once
it in
more,
your final form and then send it to
Yeah,
me.
you gotta read
and
that.
do it in January sometime.
Go right through it.
Yeah, we should in your direction.
Oh, I've got a copy, so you could have something to read over there.
He's got time to read.
George,
Well,
do we actually have to
well-
sign this?
Well,
This was the.
Oh, did we, would you send
didn't
the
sign
email
that.
with the,
we didn't.
No.
Send it through me, cause
Okay.
you
Do we
can't.
need
whoever, yeah.
Yeah,
Was the guidelines that you have from the other dispensary?
okay, I made this.
The one you just gave me?
Yeah,
I
please.
can send it.
Yeah, awesome, thank you.
Sheffield's?
Yeah, Sheffield, yeah.
It was Sheffield, Mass.
yeah, Pam can send it off.
Why don't
You
you,
just don't wanna be emailing.
So basically, I'm just,
No, we
because
voted
I don't
against you.
know
Oh, yeah.
the ins and outs, we
you.
cannot talk about
So
it
used to saying.
other than
Do
we,
it.
when we are here.
Do it in
Thank
the
you.
context of a
God.
meeting. And you never wanna be emailing like a forum.
Yeah, we don't want all those people back.
Oh, my God, I'll get, have to
So,
have
but
security. in
let's
my
say
house.
if I bump into Troy on the
That was,
street,
eye-opener.
can I have a discussion with him
Yeah,
about it or no?
You can do that, it's only two.
One
I mean,
One-
I'm just picking on
It can't
Troy
be-
because he's right
It
directly.
can't be a
across the-
quorum, it can't be a quorum.
Right.
You really don't wanna be discussing commission, you know,
Okay.
the more open and transparent you can be, the better it
Of
is
course.
for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole commission.
I'm just trying to, I don't
No,
wanna
no,
do
the rule-
anything that,
You wanna know what the rule is. The rule
Right.
is that you can't do it if it's a quorum of the commission. if it's a decision-making forum of the commission, you can't discuss commission business outside of this.
That was my
Nor
question.
any pending application.
Right.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean, you know,
If you go to the zoning officer school, that's the first thing they tell you, that do not let your
We never signed it.
people on the commissions talk among themselves about anything.
I think I stressed it.
Yeah, just put that in email once. Don't reply all.
Okay, election of officers.
do we participate in that? No.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, everybody.
Finally, something.
But you have to be a seated member to hold an office, that's all.
Oh, yeah, no.
But everybody votes.
I'd like to nominate George for,
Second.
chairman.
All those in favor?
Any,
Everybody in favor?
any discussion? All in favor? All abstain. Okay. I make a nomination of Craig Sandin for vice
Second.
chair.
You know, I just feel badly, 'cause, you know, my health being what it is, I don't.
It's all right. You're
You're
getting
you're
better.
here every time, what's the difference?
I just, you know, I'm exhausted right now. I'm ready to go
Listen,
to
Me
bed.
too, don't feel bad.
Yeah, right.
You're not the only one.
I mean, I'm serious.
We don't usually go this long.
No, I'm happy to do it, but I just,
Do
you
it.
know, realize, you know,
Did we have a second on that
Yes,
nomination?
yeah,
I tried to, but that doesn't matter.
second it. Got it, okay.
We're gonna keep
All in
you.
favor?
Aye.
All right.
those opposed.
Not really, right?
Huh?
Not
I
really,
think it's got all the
right?
signatures, so.
Yeah, I make a motion that Peter continue as the secretary.
I think he's gonna change his clothing, you know, this dungaree stuff is.
Tough shit.
John
Bottom line.
seconded it.
That's what?
Can't see it from where Pam's sitting.
Okay, John second. All in favor?
Hey, I could be wearing pajamas.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Yep.
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody. This was a good session.
So, there is a
No,
meeting on
that's
27th?
the community. hall.
That's what I
Yeah.
heard coming out of her mouth.
When we did
right.
the settlement, we asked them for 2 years,
No,
they couldn't
20
use it
minutes.
for their own
I know,
purposes.
but, you know,
But I mean,
the
between
whole
Christmas-
week is sort of
Yeah,
Christmas.
We had the whole thing
Yeah.
of COVID, you know, they didn't really have an opportunity to do a whole.
Hey, are we having a meeting the week
hope you
between
would.
Christmas and New Year's?
Eve was- I haven't seen him in a long time.
Do we? Oh, Bill, yeah.
Bill,
We're-
He's
Unless we
a,
have-
he's a,
Let me have your attention for a
behind the
second.
marina, so.
I realize.
If we don't have an objection, let's